I'm now joined by national award-winning filmmaker Vivek Agnihotri. After the success of the Tashkent Files, he's back with the Kashmir Files, based on true events. And of course, as the name suggests, this movie is based on the genocide and the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits. Vivek Agnihotri, thanks a lot for speaking to CNN News 18. Many congratulations on your movie, which is releasing just after Verdict Day this election season on March 11th. Before I talk about the movie and its subject and what you aim to achieve from the movie, I want to begin by talking about this note that you released for your followers on social media, that you had deactivated your Twitter account because ever since you started promoting this movie, The Kashmir Files, you were receiving a lot of threats. Could you just talk to me a little bit about that? Why you believe this movie has made you a target?
See, this has been happening for a long time, but I thought that somehow it will go away. First, they issued a fatwa against me when we were shooting in Kashmir. Then I was heckled in world's top universities in America when I went to give lectures at Purdue University, at Rutgers. At Rutgers, in fact, there are a lot of people, they got my show cancelled saying that there is a security threat, and that's why they got it cancelled. But then more and more people turned up because of that cancellation. Then in that, there were like thousands of people, and that's where two I don't know, Pakistani or Kashmiri Muslim boys tried to heckle me. Their security had to throw them out. This time also in a couple of speeches, they tried to heckle me. So this has been going on. And this is their standard strategy. It's not that they are doing it for me. They do it against anyone who exposes the lies of these people, which they have been saying in mainstream media and mainstream cultural films, wherever, for last 30 years on international forums. And that's why people fear them and people are scared. That's why nobody makes a film on Kashmir genocide. It's a genocide the world recognizes, but in India, unfortunately, nobody, even journalists can't speak about it. 19 journalists were killed in Kashmir. 19. What is their crime? Their crime is because they called a spade a spade. And the journalists who just say, call them separatists, or they have little sympathy for Islamic terrorism, or they have sympathy for Free Kashmir campaign, those people are rewarded. They go and take interviews and all that. So honest journalists who speak on behalf of India are killed in Kashmir. And who am I? I'm just a filmmaker. Bollywood has boycotted me. Mainstream media has boycotted me. For what crime? For the crime of a genuine thing where photographs are available, all that documentation is there that yes, these people were killed and raped. If I'm making a film on that, then this is the price I have to pay in free, democratic, independent, secular India.
When you say they, who are you talking about?
Everybody knows who are they. See, in Kashmir, you have to understand, in Kashmir, what has happened. See, Kashmir's politics is very simple. There is one lobby which propagates free Kashmir, which means they want to isolate Kashmir from India. And then they want to make it, it's not that they just want freedom. They want to make it Islamic Republic of Kashmir. Initially, they wanted to merge with Pakistan. But then they realized that Pakistan they can't trust. So now they want a free country. Now the problem is that within India, there are people whom I have written a book called Urban Naxals, which the even Prime Minister acknowledged in Rajya Sabha. And today everybody acknowledges this is truth. People who have been caught, arrested, who are funded either by the green terror money, which comes from communist countries, or the red terror money, which comes from communists, or the green terror money, which comes from Islamist terrorist money. So these two kinds of funding, professors, historians, intellectuals, there's a big lobby. Most of the Bollywood, I'm not saying they are actually funded, but for some interest, for some ideology, they support these free Kashmir people. And that's why not even one film has been made on Kashmir genocide, but hundreds of films and documentaries have been made that how Indian army is oppressing them, raping the women, or how Indian state has actually oppressed them. This is the first time somebody is making a film on the other side of the truth. I'm saying what they make is fine. Maybe that what they are saying has truth or not truth, but that's a focus film. I am focusing on Kashmir genocide of Hindus. Now, this is a free country. I should be able to make it, but the main opposition is coming from Bollywood media, from some very vested interest wale jo mainstream media hai, and they, since they oppose me, they also give a lot of fuel to the fire or a lot of strength to the real terrorists, the jihadis, who issue fatwa. Then there's a threat perception, which is why Maharashtra government had to provide me security. You know, it's not that I asked for it. They gave it to me 6-7 months ago. I said, no, I don't want any security. I don't want to work with cops. As long as I am living in independent India, I believe I live in independent India, I am not going to take any security, because the minute somebody, a filmmaker, has to take security, it means our democracy and state has failed absolutely. So, you know who are doing it: Islamic terrorist groups, the red terror groups, which are this thing, and the people who justify terrorism.
You know, the narrative on Kashmir has been very lopsided, almost one-sided, but lopsided for many, many years. And just recently, that narrative has been possibly been opposed, or it's being bust open by people like yourself, but many others who want to bring forth the real events that took place when it came to the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits and what was really the motive. Now, this movie is being termed as an eye-opener, or a movie that will bust some myths, blatant and honest truth. Can you explain to those who may want to go watch the movie and who are listening to you right now, what are the myths or the fraudulent narratives that you aim to bust through this movie, and what is it that you are presenting in this movie as a counter to what has been said so far?
Okay, myth number one: nothing like this happened. Kashmiri Pandits ran off in conspiring with the governor, Lieutenant Governor Jagmohan. This is a very big lie and myth, because Jagmohan wasn't there in power. He came on 20th, 21st. 18, Farooq Abdullah resigned. 19, there was no governor, no DGP, nobody, nothing. And on the 19th, these people ran away and they were thrown out of Kashmir. 20th, Jagmohan ji joined. His plane got stuck in Jammu. He left on 21st. So उन 2 दिनों में तो कोई था ही नहीं वहां पे. And second thing is, the process started in 85. 19 January 1990 is recorded as the date in that chapter, because on that date the maximum number of people left, because they started burning houses, killing, and that was the deadline. They said if you don't leave by 12 o'clock midnight on 19th, then Ralif Galif Shalif, which means we will kill you and we will keep your women with us and we'll marry your women and make them Muslim. These were the chants which were going on the loudspeakers. This is on video, on YouTube. It's recorded by foreign journalists, Indian journalists, from left, right, everybody. So that is documented. So that is number one myth. Second myth is that 4,000, 5,000 people were not killed, only 219 FIRs are there. How does anybody say that 4,000-5,000 people were killed? Now the thing is, people who were killed, they can't go back to write FIR. Their families left immediately. In fact, most of the cases, families left first. They left behind just to close everything. They were killed. Third thing, anybody who tried to write FIR, not only Hindus, even Muslims, even if they tried to file FIR, there was no police system at that time, and the police were beating them up. In fact, there is one interview I did where they cut body into 50 pieces and threw it outside the police station. These are all documented stuff. It's not that I have thought about it. So that is the second very big myth. And the third myth which we have created is about this plebiscite business, which all the JNU professors and the leftist people are always talking about it. But that was preconditional. There were 3 conditions to that. That Pakistan will withdraw all their military strength, then only India will withdraw that. Pakistan has never withdrawn that. How do you expect India to withdraw that? Right? And after that, the biggest myth, I think, is this Azadi song. Azadi song was sung when the Justice of High Court, Ganju Sahab, Neelkant Ganju Sahab, when he was killed in front of High Court, for 4 or 5 hours, these terrorists were dancing in a circle around his body, dead body, and singing Azadi. When little children were killed, they were singing Azadi. When women were raped, they were singing Azadi. Now the same Azadi song is taken to our universities, thinking it's a song of revolution. It's not a song of revolution. It's a song of Islamic terrorism. Even great Islamist scholars, they also acknowledge that Azadi song is a song of Islamic terrorism in India. That song is being now celebrated. And the last but not the least, Maqbool Bhatt, they celebrate. Afzal Guru, they celebrate. Burhan Wani, they celebrate. These are all terrorists. And these are dreaded terrorists. They have hijacked Indian Airlines aircraft. They have killed bank managers. They have killed Indian CBI officers. They have killed Indian intelligence officers. They have burned buildings. They have raped people. They have on camera, Yasin Malik's JKLF on camera has acknowledged both Yasin Malik and his pawn Bitta Karate that they have killed hundreds of Hindus in the valley. It's on camera, and interviews taken by Aaj Tak and India Today and the top this thing. And despite that, Yasin Malik is invited to Prime Minister's house during Congress regime. These are the myths which need to be broken. The younger generation needs to be told what is Kashmir, why Kashmir is important to India, and who are the enemies of Kashmir.
I'll ask you two final questions. What will you say to people that you are not really interested in the truth, or what may be a resolution of Kashmir, or even for Kashmiri Pandits, that you are basically part of the narrative building of the current regime in power, in other words, the BJP?
So tell me one thing. Even if, let's assume what you are saying is right, though after you see the film, you'll realize what the film is. It has been seen by Democrats, Republicans, Blacks, Chinese, Asians, poor, rich, Kashmiri, Hindus, Telugu, Tamil, all kinds of people in 16 cities. Every single person, when they have seen the movie, they were crying. So obviously it has nothing to do with the government. In fact, most of the people with the current government will get upset with me after they see the film, because it definitely does not, it's not a jingoistic film. It doesn't praise anybody. It's not about anybody at all. It is only about one thing. What happens when humanity is absent? Simple. That is my only purpose of the film. That is the only thing. Because what happens is, मैं आपको बताता हूँ, होता क्या है कि we listen about murder, like women, why men are not being able to have empathy, or empathy, why they cannot exactly feel how women feel walking in crowded places in India. Because men never feel that. They are not being molested or attacked or groped like women in local trains and buses are. Okay, they have not experienced it, and there are no pictures or videos of that. So they have no idea what happens to them. Similarly, since there is no video like World Trade Center falling or Taj Mahal Hotel burning, since there are no imagery, no pictures, no videos, nothing, we do not understand and feel what exactly happened in Kashmir during genocide. What happens when terrorism sadly doesn't touch normal lives. So people don't care about terrorism. They think it's something which happens in Kashmir. It is something which happens on the border. Unless and until it stands right in front of your house, you can never understand. I have seen the terror of terrorism in Kashmir. I have a bomb blast happened just 200 or 300 meters away from me. I have seen there are some girls who worked with me for a film shooting in Kashmir, how the entire village came with big sticks and all that, and the swords and different kind of guns and all that, and they beat them up. They beat them up like a dhobi, how he hits clothes on a stone. I have seen that with my eyes. I know that all the great things we know about today, Panchtantra, Natya Shastra, Kalidas, Patanjali, Yoga, Ayurveda, all the mathematics, hydraulic science, the greatest philosophy and literature was written in Kashmir. Shankaracharya walked all the way from Kerala to Kashmir to argue with, to have Shastras with Buddhists for 1,000 years. They argued. Then the synthesis came out and Buddhism came. Such a philosophical place. Today, in that capital, the land of Saraswati, where all the music started, musicology was invented in Kashmir. The whole world recognizes it, but Indians don't know about it. In a land of music, art, theater, Natya Shastra, Panchtantra, today there is no music, no art, no literature. There is absolutely no diversity, no culture. The most diverse place today has become zero diversity. The girls, if you look at pictures before 1985 is the cutoff date. Look at the pictures of Muslim girls in Kashmir. They are more modern than girls in Bombay and Delhi today, because they were influenced by the Shah regime of Afghanistan, where the girls wore skirts and short tops
And they were very westernized in their way. And that's exactly how Kashmiri girls used to wear. In fact, Kashmiri Hindu girls wore in a more traditional way than the Muslim girls. And today they are clad in burqas all over. That is Kashmir, today's Kashmir. Nothing happens Kashmir.
So you're saying that this is not so much about narrative building in today's time, because there's a constant fight between the left-wing narrative and the right-wing narrative. This is about showing what Kashmir's history was and juxtapositioning it with what it had become, especially at the height of militancy, which led to the exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits and the genocide as well. I want to ask you a final question. Today, there's a big churn happening. Filmmakers like you are making these films. Writers are writing these books. There are parts of our history that are either being reclaimed or challenged today because there was a one narrative that had succeeded for 60, 70 years, or at least most part of our independent history. What do you hope to achieve with this movie? We know the plight of Kashmiri Pandits. Even today, they're struggling. But even if I leave that aside, the resolution of them being able to go back and reclaim that land, what do you hope to achieve with this film, Vivek Agnihotri?
See, first of all, they are soldiers who are fighting at the border with guns. I can't do that. But I'm a creative soldier, so I am fighting establishment. I have every single pore of my body is anti-establishment. I have a very strong dissent. Now the problem is people do not understand. People think government is establishment. Government is not establishment. Establishment is the people who set the rules of the game. Though you work for the largest media group of this country and one of the best media houses, but you are still not establishment because you are not allowed to set the rules of the game. Right? Similarly, in Bollywood, rules of the game are not set by people like me. So I'm raising my voice against who sets the rule of the game? Karan Johar, Yashraj Productions, Vidhu Vinod Chopra, all these 4 or 5 big, large Fox and Netflix, Amazon. The big people with billions of dollars and money, these are the people who control and they set rules of the game. So if you see, there was a time when Shyam Benegal, Govind Nilani, Prakash Jai, parallel movement started and they started dictating the terms of the game and people started making lots of films like that. But today, it has totally been taken over by people like Karan Johar and all those. They are not interested in stories. They are not interested in writing. They are not interested in the craft of cinema. They don't even care what you do. All they are interested in is how they make their empire bigger and bigger, how they dominate all the stars, and everybody has to follow the rules which they have set. If you don't follow those rules, then they boycott you, isolate you. Kashmir Files, Tashkent Files ran for 100 days, was the biggest hit, won 2 national awards. Not even one Bollywood media house or TV news or these people have spoken a word about it. Rather, they boycotted me in a very, very vulgar way. Same thing they are doing now with the Kashmir Files. When Kashmir Files trailer became the biggest hit and sensation and 22 million views in no time, at that time, Anupama Chopra, whose husband, Kashmiri Hindu husband, made Shikara on the same subject, same thing. What they are doing in their film companion, which is so powerful today, decides the future of young actors and actresses. This is their power. They are the establishment. What are they doing? Instead of writing about the trailer, they said, since Kashmir File trailer is out, we are going to present you our review of the Tashkent Files. And the review of the Tashkent Files says it's a third-rate film of third-rate politics. The film which won 2 national awards and ran for 100 days. Can any government run that? I am raising my voice against these people who have corrupted, destroyed Bollywood. The common man of India today hates Bollywood so much. The day they will realize that, they will die of shame. This is my voice of dissent against this establishment, and that's why I'm making these kind of films.
So your fight is as much against the industry and not just against the establishment outside it that control the narrative on Kashmiri Pandits and their exodus?
Of course. I thought I maybe misunderstood. I thought you said, why are you making these kind of films? I said, that's why I'm making the stories which nobody tells or nobody's allowed to tell, which means your entry pass will be blocked. You can't enter this big castle of Bollywood if you make these kind of films. So I want to prove. Tell me, why should I waste 4 years of my life? Fatwa to mere naam pe nikla hai. धमकियां तो मुझे मिल रही हैं, and you know very well as a journalist, the minute you make film on Kashmir genocide, the kind of threat perception increases. I have put in all the money. I have sacrificed 4 years of my prime my prime years of my life. Why am I doing it? I am doing it so that if this film also works, then hundreds of Vivek Agnihotris will get a chance to make films on very sensitive, touchy subjects.
But
Bollywood doesn't make.
on the subject itself, what is your hope that this movie will achieve?
This film will make every single Indian realize the hypocrisy of politics, of religious gurus, and all the intellectuals. People will realize that government किसी की भी हो, establishment कोई और चलाता है. इसलिए never focus on government, focus on the establishment. When you look at media, don't look at which is the largest group. Look at who runs the establishment of media, speak against them, and that's the voice of dissent. This film will create the kind of awareness which in 70 years nobody has been able to. This is, in the end, I'll say, this is the reason I decided to use this film for diplomacy as a soft power of this country. We showed it to all the people in Washington, D.C. They loved the film so much that for the first time in the history, they invited me and congressional reception in Capitol. This honor has not been given to anyone. It's people that they sell the fans and supporters seeing it, contributed money, they put up the of Kashmir on Times Square, which is the largest and the most prestigious hoarding, exactly where all these people had put a free Kashmir campaign. Exactly. And you must know, and this is a moment of pride for every Indian, that in the history of America, they have not even once shown the complete map of Kashmir. On 26 January this year, for the first time, complete map of Kashmir was up in Times Square for 2 days for people to see. This is the impact of this film. It's not an ordinary film. This is something else. This is just because it's shot and releasing in theater, don't see it like a film. This
release date is
11th March.
We wish you all the best. More power to you, and we hope that the hypocrisy over human rights and whose human rights are more important or less important, depending on the politics that you bat for, is also broken through movies like these. So thank you, Vivek Agnihotri, for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.